Welcome to the instructional video on how to use the Styrofoam cutter correctly. As you can see, I've cut my two shapes out. These are from the second assessment worksheet that you saw in the video prior to this. You'll see I have my side view and my top view cut out accurately. When you're cutting out, please make sure you guys stay on your lines, because even the smallest miscalculation can cause you to go out of spec, and going out of spec could make your car go from greatness to garbage in less than a second. So once you have your two ideas, your two shapes I should say, the side view and the top view cut out, you're going to grab a Styrofoam cutter and a piece of Styrofoam. You'll also need T-pins, which are located in the T-pin box that's next to the rulers. And you'll only need 2 T-pins, maybe you'll need 3 at most, but you'll see in today's demonstration how you only probably need 2. So what you're going to do is on the front of this Styrofoam cutter, you'll see that there's low, medium, and high. What you'll do is you'll turn the knob to medium. Really, that's all you need. There are 2 of these that I have that are Kelvin. One of them is a little bit larger. That one you might need to turn on to high. I think it's slowly dying, but really you don't need high that much. I mean, it might melt the Styrofoam too much. When you're done, you will take your side view design. You will find the 90-degree angle of your Styrofoam, which is here. Obviously that's a 90-degree angle. If you flip this over, you can see it's not a 90-degree angle. It's sort of an acute angle, probably somewhere around 80 degrees. But we're looking for the 90-degree angle. And what you'll do is you'll take your second assessment, you'll lay it down so that it lines up with the bottom of your Styrofoam and the back end of your block of Styrofoam here. Now when we do the block of wood, this part will be a little bit different, so please don't take it too serious as far as this is how it goes on the Styrofoam, so that's how it goes on the wood. It's not the case. Now you'll take your two T-pins, and all you're going to do is you're going to poke a hole through both T-pins, through both axle holes, just like I've done. And when you're ready, you're going to start from the back and work to the front. And when you do this, you want to keep the Styrofoam perfectly flat against the board, and then just sort of follow your direction. It's so simple to do this. You don't want to force the Styrofoam through the actual wire. Right now all the wire is doing is just melting the Styrofoam, so you can't push it any faster than that thing can melt. Now as I'm doing this, I'd like you to know that I'm kind of keeping the wire just a little bit off of the actual piece of paper, and not because it would burn the paper, because it won't. But what I'm doing is I'm keeping it a little bit off the edge of the paper because I don't want to go underneath the paper, and what's happening is the Styrofoam is melting, and if it melts underneath the actual design, if let's say you came to a point where you are just at the edge of that specification and it melts underneath your paper, it could put you out of spec. And I won't give you your block of wood if your Styrofoam is out of spec. Then what you'll do is you'll just take off what you don't need. You un-T-pin it, and your Styrofoam side view is done. Now what we have to do is we have to get a marker, and then we're going to mark our axle holes. So where you put the T-pin in, you should be able to see like a little hole in there. Now I may not be able to see it on the screen, but I promise you'll see a hole where you actually put the T-pin in it. You will then label the T-pin hole, which is your axle hole, because that's where your axles went. And this is really important. This step is extremely important for your top view. Once your side view is done, you will get your T-pins, and you will T-pin the top view now onto the side view. And what you're going to do is you're not going to line up the top view with the back. That is not the right thing to do. What you want to do is you want to line up your axles with the axles. So you're kind of lining them up so that they're perfect, and then you'll lay it down on the top. When you get them lined up, you'll take your T-pins and you'll tack them in on both ends. You don't want the paper to go in, because if it does, it's going to shrink up the paper, and it's already not going to make it all the way to the front and to the back anyway, so I wouldn't worry about that kind of stuff. You're not cutting off the back, and you're not going to cut off the front. You'll just extend your shape outward. Very simple. Now girls, this is going to require you to be over the top of your Styrofoam cutter, so when you're doing this you want to be right over the cutter. If you have long hair and your hair gets into the wire, the wire could actually burn your hair. So you got to make sure that your hair is tied up and possibly into a bun, because if you put it in a ponytail and it's still long enough to get into the wire, it's still going to burn. Now, speaking of the wire gets hot enough to the point where it could easily give you a pretty good burn if you touch it. So you want to make sure that you're keeping your fingers at least 2 to 4 inches away from the wire at all times. And what you're going to do is you're just going to cut out your shapes. Once again, not forcing the Styrofoam cutter to cut any faster than it can melt. One of the biggest mistakes most kids make is they start to try to rush through this step so that they can get their block of wood. Well, if you rush through this step and your car doesn't come out right, you won't get your block of wood. Now, the thing you should know about the Styrofoam isn't that it just melts, but that you get 3 of these for free, meaning I don't cost any points. If, let's say, this doesn't work out and you need to do it again, you get another one at no cost to your grade. And if you mess up again, you still get another one without any cost to your grade, but you're slowly running out of time as well. So, do what you can and try to make sure that you're going to do it right the first time. The quicker you get it done, the quicker you'll get your block of wood. And when you're done, you'll un-T-pin everything. You make sure that you return your T-pins back to the T-pin box, because that's where they go. And you remove this to show whether or not you've got your axle holes, because you need your axle holes in this. If you cut your axle holes off, you went out of spec. So make sure that they are there. Also, just double check your top view and your side view for the shape that you like. And if you like the shape, you're good to go. Now, one of the common things that kids do is they'll accidentally cut their axles off, and then they will draw them on with a marker after they've cut them off. Clearly, you can see that this area was cut off. So this would still be out of spec even if you drew this thing back on. You got to make sure that you haven't touched it, where it's nice and perfectly flat and you've got your axle holes in it, you're set. If it's not that way, this car is garbage and you can just snap it and throw it away. All right. When you're done, you'll put your name on the bottom of it and whatever class day you are, 7A or 7B, whatever. And you will store it in the cabinet that's gray in the back room. And you'll see where it says 7A or 7B in the cabinet in the back stock room. And then you just put it in there. Please do not forget that. And then now you're set.